Hello, this is Lizzy Lee, and I'll be giving you my personal review on Laura K. Hamilton's Anita Blake's book series review. I'll be rating the book in meeting a couple of criterias.
Character development.
What are the most important?
World development.
Cohesiveness.
Its ability to stand alone within the series and within the genre.
Popularity.
And the raunchy sex scenes.
The first thing you might be thinking before picking up this book is, what genre is it? After Laura K. Hamilton wrote her first book called Guilty Pleasures, she had a hard time getting the book published. It got turned down over 200 times, mainly because of the classification, aka what genre was it? First, she submitted it to a horror editing publisher, but the horror people thought it was science fiction, and the science fiction people thought it was fantasy, but the fantasy people thought it was mystery, and the mystery people wouldn't touch it because it had monsters in it. So right now the book is technically classified as YMCA fantasy fiction, mystery, romance. Each book has different genres incorporated under the synopsis or whatever. So it's actually really hard to classify this book, but I would say this book is first and foremost a mystery book. Then I would follow up. I'd say the whole series is actually first and foremost a mystery series. I'd follow it up by saying it is a romance series, followed up by young adults, because she does start in the young adult qualifications, and she talks back to when she was in college. But the book, since it's such a long series, she grows through the entire book. So therefore, I would still classify it as a young adult, which is the category. I would also classify it as a horror book because there are some horrible scenes that when you just read it, it just brings shivers to you. Okay, I will do this once. I'm going to read every single book cover title to you. I'll read all the books in the correct order. Book 1 is Guilty Pleasures. Book 2 is Laughing Corpse. Book 3 is Circus of the Damned. Book 4 is Lunatic Cafe. Book 5 is Bloody Bones. Book 6 is Killing Dance. Book 7 is Burnt Offerings. Book 8 is Blue Moon. Book 9 is Obsidian Butterfly. Book 10 is Narcissus in Chains. Book 11 is Cerulean Sins. Book 12 is Incubus Dreams. Book 13, which is my favorite, is Micah. Book 14 is Dance Macabre. Book 15 is Harlequin. Book 16 is Blood Noir. Book 17 is Skin Trade. Book 18 is Flirt. Book 19 is Bullet. Book 20 is Hit List. Book 21 is Kiss of the Dead. Book 22 is Affliction. Book 23 is Jason. Book 24 is Dead Ice. Book 25 is Crimson Death. Book 26 is Serpentine. Book 27 is Sucker Punch. Book 28 is Raphael. Okay, that was literally, I had to look off the screen and say it very slowly because it is such a tongue twister to say them all really quickly. The Anita Blake Vampire series books is a series narrated in first person by Anita Blake. She works in St. Louis, Missouri as a professional vampire hunter and executioner and as a necromancer. The early novels focus primarily on the crime solving. Each book is written as a kind of like a standalone, and I'll cover more about that and why I think that's important. But the later books really focus more on the sexual and personal interrelational aspects, which is really wonderful. So in this world, Anita Blake works as a vampire hunter, vampire executioner, which means that in this series she hunts down vampires and she kills them, and her other job is as a necromancer. She's biologically a necromancer, but her other job is an animator. She raises zombies from the dead, and then the zombies answer questions. Zombies have expiration dates, and that's a very fluffy, light overview of the series. My next criteria for judging this book is going to be character development. And in character development, I give this book a 5 out of 5. And the reason why I give this book a 5 out of 5 is because the series is so long that there really has to be character development. Because when I read the first books, you really get to know the characters, all of the characters. By the time you reach book 28, there are 12 main characters and about 30 characters in their lives that you could ask me, you could just say, tell me this, talk to me about this character, and I could write a 2-page essay because of the series. There's been so much character development. I could tell you when they were born, not every character, because it's not really important when they're born, but I could tell you from the first time they come into the series, every struggle they've gone through. I can tell you like intricate details about each character. Each character is thoroughly fleshed out, just like the world. Each character has a backstory. Each character has goals. Each characters have foils. Like each character has everything. All the characters are just phenomenal. And I think the best demonstration of why I give this book a 5 out of 5 in character development is because I love to reread this series. But when I reread this series, I start after book 7 because and you might be thinking, why don't you start with book 1? Why don't you read it from the first book? And I'll tell you why. There is so much character development that if you were to read the first book and the last book talking about the same characters, they have changed so much. They have gone through so many trials and tribulations that they really do change and grow and evolve. So when I reread the series, I cannot, like, in the first book, Jean-Claude, which is one of our main love interests, I think he is witty, he is clever, he is funny. You learn that because he is a vampire, he has lived for hundreds of years. He has gone through so much stuff, and throughout the series, you really unpack all of the years. You get to know what made him. But when I reread the series from book 1, I think he's a kind of an asshole. I think when I first read it, I thought he was so funny and so suave and so clever. And I thought he had some walls up, but when I got to the end, I love Jean-Claude. But when I reread the book, I cannot even look at who he used to be. I'm like, he used to be such an asshole. And I think that really goes to show how much character development there is in this series. One of the criteria I'm using to judge this series on is world creation. And world creation, I would give it a 5 out of 5. Laura K. Hamilton is one of the best authors I have seen create a world. In this world, we not only have the aspects of the vampires, which, because they are really old and have amassed a lot of money, are subject to different laws and different things because lots of them own a lot of land because they have been around for generations. Not only do you see how the social economical ways vampires affects communities, not just by the fact that they pay different taxes and that there are specific laws for them because the vampires become legal citizens within the first couple books. It's not really a big spoiler. They become legal citizens. Not only that, but the way she ties in the lycanthrope community. I say lycanthrope when I say lycanthrope, the first thing that comes to your mind is probably werewolf. But in this series, it's not just werewolves. We have werewolves, we have werebears, we have werepoomers, we have were-leopards, we have were-tigers, we have were-everything. Because and the best part of Laura K. Hamilton's world building set, in each lycanthrope creature, they each have their own insular communities. She goes and she talks to the werewolves, and there's like different dialects that they speak. I'd say dialects because it's kind of like British or like accents. They use different words. They have different cultures. They have different practices, and you really get to know all the practices for each different animal. And I really think the way Laura K. Hamilton writes it, and she doesn't just throw it all on you. You learn it like Anita, because this is a first person book. As Anita learns it, you learn it too. And the world creation is so intricate that I honestly think I have never read a more, like, the mystery is the main focus of the books, but when I read the books, I really am just like, oh my god, like I'm always blown away with how she creates the world. And my favorite part of, and the main reason why I give Anita Blake series a 5 out of 5, because the only way a book can get a 5 out of 5 in world creation from me is that the author must create a good world, and she cannot break her own laws. A lot of authors will be like, oh, this is this, and these are the powers they have, and they break their own rules. No, Laura K. Hamilton creates a world. She creates rules for her world. There are consequences for actions, and she sticks to them, which I think a lot of authors have a hard time following. And for those reasons, I give this book a 5 out of 5 when it comes to world creation. The next category I'll be judging this book on is its cohesiveness and also, contrastly, its standalone abilities. For cohesiveness, I would give it a 4 out of 5, and for standalone ability, I would give it a 3. And the reason why is the series is cohesive, meaning it flows, meaning they go together. It conforms in a way, meaning I can read book 1 through book 28 and I can clearly understand it. I can see where the characters are coming from. I can really follow along with the story. But contrastly, I would give it a 3 out of 5 for a standalone ability, because each book is a mystery and each book can be kind of read by itself. And I think that's very important, because if the entire book was one mystery being solved after and requiring 28 books to get to the end of the mystery, I think that would be a very drawn out, dry book. And I think that's just one of the great parts of this series, is that you could read it chronologically out of order, like 1, 5, 7, 8, 9. You could just pick the mystery for which you want to solve, and you would understand the book. You would totally grasp the world creation, and you would really like it. But because of the personal aspect, how she gains lovers and loses lovers, I think that part of the story would be harder to do out of order. But I do think the books could be, like, certain books could be read as standalone, especially the earlier books could be read out of order. But the further books in the series, there are more. Some certain books, like certain books require you to read both the books to fully understand the mystery, which I think is, honestly, certain mysteries are longer. And the next criteria I use when judging this book is its popularity, and that is very popular. It's very popular in its community, because this book has comic books, it has movies, it is on its 28th book series, and I think that really illustrates just how wonderful, how popular the book is. Also, I say there are 28 books, but there are also certain, like, shorter books, shorter book shorts, which cover certain characters, or because out of popular demand, people have requested her to do, like, oh, do a short book on this character. So I think for its popularity, I would give it a 5 out of 5. The book is very popular, it is clearly growing, and I think that is clearly demonstrated just by it being a strong, continuous book. The next criteria I'll be judging this book on is its erotic scenes, aka the raunchy sex scenes, which are great. I have to say, they are clearly written, they are very explicit, they are what you asked for. Okay, so Anita Blake, she is polyamorous. I don't know how to say that properly, but her sexual orientation, or exhibition of her sexual ways, is polyamorous, which means polyamory basically means many loves. She has a lot of love interests that she has and maintains sexual relationships with, so you never get sick of one love guy, because there's a lot of them. But I have to say, the best way to cover the romance scenes, I give it a 5 out of 5, is books 1 through 4 is Anita basically coming to realizing that she is polyamorous, because in the first couple of books she is fighting between the first two main love interest dudes, and they are Jean-Claude, a vampire, and the other one is Richard, a werewolf. Sadly enough, I really don't like Richard at all. I think he's terrible. But I love him as a character, but I don't love him for her. Love him for Anita. And in the first 5 books, they are really romancing her. She is coming to know them as a person. She is solving crimes. We are following her, solving the crimes. It's a lot of flirtation. There's a lot of good wordplay. I'd say the first 5 books have a lot more romantic scenes than sexually explicit scenes, which I think, in this long series, there's enough time for all of that raunchy stuff later in the series, and it really does get to it. So I really do think the first 5 books are more about the romance in her. I think books 6 through 9 are really about Anita coming within her own sexuality as a woman, and realizing that she subscribes to polyamory, and that she is becoming okay with herself being romantically and sexually involved with many men. I think books 6 through 9 really show that, how she grows out of herself, how she does learn to love herself, and I think learning to love yourself should be covered under the romance aspect. But in book 10 is where she really starts building concrete romantic things, because in the beginning of the book, like I talked to, this is man versus self partially. She does struggle with her religion, and in her faith. It's all and within her strength, and within society, it's all monogamy. So she does struggle through this, and I think really in book 10, which is where my favorite character comes in, Micah. They have sex like upon meeting the first time. It's a good sour shout. Okay, the main vocalized dislikes for this series is that it is too long. Some people think that the book series is too long, with it having a total of 28 books in total, which is a long series. But when I read the series, it flew by, and I honestly think that I personally think that it's not dry. I love it. I hope it keeps going strong. I think that if reading is a struggle, it's a great habit to get into, learning to read more. But also, Laura K. Hamilton has had her books, the Anita Blake series, turned into audiobooks. The audiobooks, I have listened to them. They are phenomenal. Like, the actors get into it. There are different voices. You hear it in your ears. The creepy scenes literally send shivers up your spine. And I have to say, if the only thing that's holding you back from reading this series books is the length, don't even be afraid. I'll listen to it on ×2 audio speed, because that's basically regular speaking, like talking, because regular speed is the minute per word goal for people to read out loud, but times 2 is how we actually speak, and that's how I like to listen to it. You can really hear the voices more. You can really feel the actors. They add all the accents. They add all the heavy breathing when she's running. You can really hear. They sometimes some of the books have like creepy noise in them, so you can really get the full audio. It literally, I'll lay in my bed and I'll listen to it, or I'll do homework and I'll feel like I'm watching a movie while I'm doing it. It is the best. And I honestly think that if the only thing that's holding you back is the length, don't even. There's really nothing I can say for people with personal dislikes. I just have to say that if you've had bad experiences with paranormal mystery romances, I'd give this one a try, because honestly it is so different from all of the others out there that I honestly think that you're gonna love this book. Some people do have a problem with some of the more explicit sexual scenes, and I just have to say, if you don't like it, skip past it. I like the scenes. I think they add to the story. I think they make the story very interesting, and I honestly think that if it's not something you're into, they really cover everything. If you are a straight person, there's straight sex. If there's gay sex scenes, there's a little bit of BDSM, there's a little bit of this cuddling, there's a little bit of everything for everyone in this. And I really like how like the book has this like sexual inclusiveness. So I think if you're just like, man, I'm not into that specifically, there's some sort of scene that is going to be up your alley. So I really think that everybody should give this book a chance. And the comprehension, I say the reading level is probably at like a 6th or 7th grade reading level for comprehension, like for word choice wise. She has strong word choice, but it's nothing crazy like incomprehensible, I couldn't believe how that happened. No, she breaks it down and uses words that you could find in everyday text, and I think that really adds to it, because you don't have to like stop and look up a word, because you don't get into the scene, you don't get tripped up on those words. So I honestly think that overall I would give this series a perfect 5 out of 5. Certain books I'd read a little bit lower, because certain books focus on certain different aspects of Anita's life, but I gotta say, overall, the whole series blew me away.